Welcome back to the Springs Radio Real Estate Show. I'm Cheryl Garlock with Colorado Front Range Properties, your host each and every week. You know, this show is a show all about residential real estate. It's all about buying a home, selling a home. If you're thinking about investing in a home, this is really where you want to tune into. And you know, we also talk with special guests, and today is no exception. I've got a great guest today, David Margrave, and we are going to be talking about what you need to know about foreclosure. So, you know, if you're thinking about picking up a foreclosure, you want to stay tuned to the show because we're going to talk about those great opportunities later. But we also need to talk about what happens to you if you're facing foreclosure. Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you, Cheryl. It's a great honor to be here.
Well, I'm always so glad to have you here. And I got to tell you guys, this man knows his stuff. And I do not say that lightly at all. I know a lot of attorneys, but this guy knows his stuff. And I want to tell you, before I space it out here, his phone number to reach him at is 719-227-7500, or you can visit springslaw.net. Now, David, one of the things I want to go ahead and ask you is about what do you think I just got through talking to everybody about how the Mortgage Debt Relief Act, well, maybe I did, maybe I didn't say. But anyway, Mortgage Debt Relief Act of 2007 has kind of come and gone, at least for the moment. They have not extended that. So that means that, you're not going to get any reprieve from deficiency judgments if you incur that on a foreclosure. So can you tell us what you think the foreclosure market looks like for Colorado or even for the Springs this next year?
Well, obviously it has slowed down a lot, but that ebbs and flows, and I think it'll be easier for people to get into homes now. I think that the market's getting stronger. I think that during the summer we're going to see fewer foreclosures, but I would predict that starting in 2015 it'll get worse. And the reason I would predict that is that the HAMP program is winding down.
Oh, okay.
So fewer people are going to be eligible for modifications next year.
Right. So HAMP is the Home Affordable Modification Program, if I remember, put out by the Obama administration, I think.
Mr. Obama takes credit for it.
Okay.
I think that might be a bit cynical.
Okay. All right. Well, we will go with that. I think that's good there. So let's go ahead and tell people, about foreclosures, because usually people are deathly afraid of foreclosures.
Sure. And
they get sort of stopped in their tracks.
Like deer in the headlights.
There, and they just sort of freeze, and they figure nothing can be done.
Right. They feel hopeless.
I want you to share with everyone, if you would, what they should do when they get their first notice. And what notice is that?
Well, they'll receive a series of letters from the attorney that might conduct the foreclosure. Those letters include an acceleration notice, and after that they'll receive a notice of election and demand for sale from the public trustee. That document is fun because it's multiple pages of typed legalese in such small text that most people can't read it. It'll warn them of a sale date, but that sale date may be changed. Arbitrarily with no explanation, and really somebody ought not to wait until they get to that point.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you.
There's things you can do before then.
Absolutely, and one of the things you can do is still a short sale, and that still has its benefits to do that. But what you don't want to do is wait till you only got 2 weeks before the sale date. Right. And did you guys know that if you have a property that is in foreclosure and all of a sudden you get a contract on it and your sale date is like a week or 2 weeks out, you can probably get that bank to put a hold and stop that foreclosure, but you need to know who to contact and get those people there to help you. So that's one of the things David can help you do. So isn't that true, David?
It is, but there are different situations. Sometimes you simply cannot get that sale date moved.
Yeah.
But we've done that several times with different clients, and it's kind of a roll of the dice, whether you're going to get that postponement or not.
Right. But what they really need to do, if you're going to be facing foreclosure, you're going into it, they ought to do two things. They need to call a really good realtor. By the way, I know just who you can call.
I do too.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
Her name's Cheryl. She's cool.
Yeah. I know a few things about this business here, but a really good agent is also going to tell you to call a good attorney there. And because you guys need to know something, we as realtors are pretty good at some of us are, okay, at certain things here, but we cannot practice law. It is against the law for us to practice law. So we have to refer you to a good attorney for that. And you want to go ahead and find out what your ramifications are. You know, David, sometimes I get people who just sort of give up hope and they say, I'm going to just let the property go back. I'll just start on over here later on.
Sure.
And a lot of times people think they're not, if they're behind on their mortgage, they're also behind on other debt.
Right.
And so talk to us a little bit about how foreclosures tie into potentially filing a bankruptcy.
Okay.
And your thought about that.
Well, the bankruptcy law is actually really a useful tool and extremely beneficial for people who might never have imagined that they would be eligible for a bankruptcy, and for people who are so reluctant to look into it that they never find out what their options are. If you file a bankruptcy of any kind, it will stop a foreclosure in its tracks.
Mm-hmm.
It will typically give you at least 3 extra months in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And there are options in bankruptcy that make it possible to challenge the foreclosure and establish that the foreclosing party isn't even entitled to proceed, or to modify the loan in a forced modification that is supervised by a court. In other words, you can establish a Chapter 13 plan that allows you to catch up on your mortgage over a 3 or 5 year period. And that can be forced down the lender's throat.
Mm-hmm.
They may not have any options about that whatsoever. You can strip second mortgages or other liens off your house in a bankruptcy and end up avoiding payment of those entirely. So bankruptcy is a wonderful option for keeping your house.
So yeah, and one of the things you want to do too is make sure that, I think the most important thing here is that you need to know what your options are. Don't just believe the paper that gets delivered to your door. And you know,
Yes,
David, they are
exactly.
now posting people on their door when they're doing foreclosures.
Yes.
You know, so don't freak out. Pick up the phone. I'm going to tell you again, here's the number to call. 719-227-7500, or go to springslaw.net. Ask for David Margrave. He can definitely help you. Now, I only have a minute here for this particular question I wanted to ask you about Rule 120.
Okay.
Since I'm talking to people about not waiting to the last minute, let's say they sort of did, because it does happen a lot, as
Right.
much as they possibly can.
Right.
Quickly tell us what Rule 120 means to the consumer.
Okay, you may receive a notice that talks about a hearing in court, and it will be called a notice of a hearing on a motion for an order authorizing sale. That notice tells you virtually nothing. You need to respond to it immediately. Don't just walk, but run to
Wow.
our office to handle that, file an objection, and you will at least extend the time in the house for a month or two.
Wow, that's great. We got a lot more to share with you on Springs Radio Real Estate Show. So stay right here. Get your pen and paper ready for Property Showcase. And we'll be back with more in just a few minutes.